we made about $1 million within the first year.
Did you forecast that? Did that exceed your expectations?
That definitely exceeded my expectations.
In terms of how you apply yourself to your business, what are the things that you pass off?
So since day one, I've always said I do anything but sales. And then I learned over time, when you are in business, you will forever be in sales. Scaling is creating a foundation, like real processes and tools in your business. If you don't lay a strong foundation very early on, it's not efficient, it's not effective, it's not productive. I've had 1 million failures, but in the end, all these failures have really pushed me levels up to where most people are never going to be.
Janine Zappini is an award-winning entrepreneur, author, educator and longevity coach who specializes in empowering business professionals to achieve sustainable success.
With over 20 years of leadership experience, Janine has established herself as a sought-after global business trainer and speaker, recognized for her ability to inspire and transform lives.
Has anything really challenged you where, business has been on a low?
Oh, man, where do I start?
Janine, a pleasure to have you. How are you today?
Thank you for having me. I'm fabulous. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Thank you very much. Connected with you last year through EO,
Yes, we
Entrepreneurs
did.
Organization, and I was impressed with what you have achieved so far in business. And I see that you've done a lot of work, not just in your own businesses, but with companies as well, like Sony and Apple, the likes of that. And
Yeah.
I want to dig into, what got you to this place today. What was it like when Janine was young, starting out? What were her dreams and what motivated her to drive her on?
How much time have you got? This is like a whole story. Okay, let me keep this shorter. So I have come from an entrepreneurial family. My grandfather had 100 staff business, and I have grown up around that. So him working at night all day, every day, like that generation. He was born in 23, so very, very strong work ethic. And you work hard for what you do. Now that mentality is not exactly healthy, but I have grown up around that. Ever since I can imagine like maybe 5, I wanted to be a teacher. I had a great teacher in school, and I wanted to be a teacher, but I've always said I don't want to do it in school, never knowing what that might look like. And I had entrepreneurial tendencies, like selling things at markets and trade shows, like family trade shows, those sort of things, and making stuff. However, I wasn't connecting it into entrepreneurialism as such. So I went through like a whole I studied marketing. I went through the schooling system. I moved to Australia from Germany very early when I was 20. Went through really, really fast learning routes in massive corporations very quickly. I worked for the New South Wales Supreme Court, for the Louis Vuitton Group, for Dior, for a very, very large automobile brand with multiple brands they worked with and prestige cars. I every time, no matter where I went, I ended up growing or building like a workshop as such, where you would educate consumers or retailers on your brand. Or I used to work for an occupational health recovery provider that worked with insurances. So I'd work like educational programs with them. Somehow that always ended up happening that way. So when I was 25, I built my own business through my own needs. I was a business analyst with a massive retail corporation, and soul sucking, couldn't do it anymore. Did some like health food treats because I was a vegan at that time back in the day. And Just want to do something fun, connect with like-minded people. So I ended up going in Sydney, Australia to local markets just to, offer some nice treats, because veganism wasn't a big thing about 15 years ago. And retailers asked whether I could, sell that in store. And I was like, I have no idea. I've never done anything like that before. I wouldn't even know where to start. And especially because it was a perishable product that had to be refrigerated. And so I had to learn on the go and learn very quickly. We made about $1 million within the first year. And I was still making it myself.
When you
And
say a
like I said,
million, is that in revenue or profit?
revenue. Yeah. I wish that was profit. No, not quite, not quite. But we were doing okay. I was lucky because I was a business analyst. So I knew how much money I had to make and how much I had to sell to come to a certain point to cover bills and pay people. And so that worked in my favor. I knew how to cash flow forecast and those sort of things. But a year in, I literally did everything. And I was still making the products myself in a studio apartment in Bondi Beach in Sydney. And I was going absolutely crazy. And I said, I'm not doing this anymore. If I don't find a manufacturing partner, I'm out. This is brutal. And I did. I found someone I could partner with. So I learned scaling and businesses, and the rest is kind of history. I went through different business stages, from the one business to a functional gut health business. And then I got a lot more into education and did a lot more workshops, help business scaling, mentoring, coaching, and so on. Yes.
You said that you got to 1 million in revenue in 6 months.
12 months in
12
a
months,
year.
apologies. And that was through you making the product yourself?
Yes.
No one else in the company, or had you anyone else helping you at the time?
I had a partner back then. Yeah, so he did online, like the web design, some of the sales, and it was effectively it was just two of us during that time. Yeah.
And did you forecast that? Was that a target that you set, or did that exceed your expectations?
That definitely exceeded my expectations. The way I was forecasting was we needed to cover bills. So everything was calculated. Cash flow was calculated. Growth was calculated. Because we were making everything ourselves, we had high margins, which worked in our favor. So growth was fine. Covering bills was fine. Paying rent, buying ingredients. Because I have a business analyst and a procurement background, I was always a good buyer as well. So again, a lot of things that I have learned over time, working with bigger companies, buying well, making good deals. Selling came quite natural because I like the products. That all worked in my favor to grow it to a point where it was kind of sustainable, but not on myself mentally and physically. So that had to scale a different way, but also that we made happen as well. Yes.
So what were the changes that you made then? You found a manufacturer, and then in terms of scaling,
Mm.
what allowed you to grow further?
Yeah, so instead of, because we grew the market, it was a product that was quite unique to the market. So you still had to do quite the sales and like getting it in store. And once we've done the groundwork of getting it into every independent, like covered the whole grounds and did the whole Australia thing, it was easier to get distributors and to get distribution partners that would then scale it and do more like bigger accounts, like the bigger franchise, the big supermarkets, and even cafes. So we could really expand from there and didn't have to look after smaller accounts. And that came with chasing money and making sure all the bills were always paid and maintaining relationships. They had people for that. So finding the right partners was really crucial in that.
And did you expand it globally then?
The global with that business wasn't a focus. So the global came with a functional health food business on gut health. So that did start in Australia, but it very early on went into the United States. Australia and the US were always quite more at the forefront of implementing or building products that were more innovative, that people understood, because the markets were the American market is larger, so it gets it. The Australian market is extremely innovative and very health conscious and focused. So that definitely played in my favor for sure. And the first year into establishing the business in Australia, I took it to America. I moved to LA, just jumped in cold turkey, cold waters, just deep diving in, made friends, the right ones, because I've heard you can go into LA or the US and you either win or lose. And I had a wonderful experience. And I guess because the brand was fun and the product was great, we did really well. We got into CVS straight away. That was our first client or customer all across the United States. And we got talking with the likes of Erewhon and Whole Foods very quickly. And yeah, it just kind of happened very quickly.
The one thing you said there was, you could meet the right people or the wrong people.
Mm-hmm.
How did you find the right people?
You have to find your network. So you said before we met through EO, the Entrepreneurs Organization. Luckily, when you're part of this organization and you're quite involved, EO members are all around the world. We have 20,000 members and we all come from the same core values. It's just one thing that we all have the same core values and kind of speak the same language. So we tend to be, with exceptions, of course, they're always there, we tend to be kind of part of a tribe. So I was included into a community very early on that also introduced the right people to me or kind of guided me or pushed me in the right directions where I can ask at least the right questions and get some insights and understand the market, because America is very, very different in terms of operations and politics. We see that more than ever now. And the same comes to health foods and distribution channels and how it's divided. So a lot of these insights came very early, and that was extremely helpful through that, yes.
That's something that I only implemented into my life in the last few years is network. Whenever I started out in business, I was so stuck in the day-to-day operations that it's not something that I felt was important because I was just running the business, and that's what my priority was until I kind of, came to my late 20s and took a bit of time out. And that time out, then I realized actually I need people, around me who are similar, as you say, share the same values that I can learn from. I think when we start out and things are going good, we just see them as going good. And what I did anyway, and that I kind of knew it all, because everything's going good. But it's a case of, I suppose, being open to learning too. And until I realized that and implemented that network that I now have, the amount of value I've got from that if I had known that starting out in business, and building good people or just bringing good people around my life, I think it would have elevated business a lot more, And I don't know if not a lot of people know that as youngsters. Again, I can only speak on my own experience, but yeah, your network's so important. And you just saying that, like coming into LA and how it helped you get off the ground there. Yeah.
The one thing is to align yourself with people who have similar core values, but the same also accounts for customers and business partners, people that you work with. So when you we're finding the same again with a chocolate brand, one of my chocolate brands called Benetto. And we now going from Asia Pacific into Europe, and we need to have partners in the industry we can grow the brand with the way we want to grow it, to make sure we have the core of the business is that we keep that they represent us the way we need to. So it's not just a matter of selling. We had to identify our ideal core customers that we sell to. Who are they? And that comes with who do we actually want to work with, making sure we can grow the brand together the way we envision it, and not just the quantity, is really the quality, to make sure we're building the strong foundation to have longevity in the market. Especially now with chocolate, it's just one thing that is There are so many uncertainties. There's so many price increases. Cacao beans are gold at this point. And you have to be very calculated, but you want to have people. It's supposed to be fun. You're supposed to be aligned. Don't have to sell anyone anything in the end. If they just believe in what you've created, you don't have to oversell it. They align with your vision and say, yeah, that's what we're looking for and we love this. And then it's just a natural process where you can grow together.
But you were also innovative to see something that no one else saw at that time, to bring something to the market, vegan chocolate, which is now very popular. And getting there first, they say if you punch first, you punch twice. It's like you get the market to yourself. It gives you a chance to grow a lot faster than others. How have you sustained that, in the sense of being able to, I'm going to say, like, be one of the market leaders in what you do while also there's competition?
I think if you're always staying true to yourself and not try to be someone else. So we all have ideas and passions about something. And where the downfall is with most people is they always look at what others do. And the first thing that I hear from most people about, when you go find manufacturing partners from something that you've created or a brand, or you share too many informations, and then people say, well, you need to sign an NDA, or you need to trademark this, or how are you protecting yourself? And in the end, like, people will never be able to really replicate or copy what you're doing because it's missing a lot of the essence. I've seen this many times. I've seen many times that businesses, massive corporations, have literally stolen, boy, do I have stories, my recipe, my market, tried to push me out, and they utterly failed in what they were doing because it didn't have essence and didn't have the core. They don't know how to communicate that. So if you stay true to yourself and you just live and breathe what you do, people will gravitate towards that. It's not in danger. You will always do well staying true to yourself.
And when you say stay true to yourself, how would you describe that in who you are?
If you live and breathe it. So for me, it's always what I live and breathe. Like, it's a lifestyle. Like, this chocolate it's pure. It's a vegan, organic, gluten-free, pure ingredients. It has a whole sustainability factor behind it. We're fair trade. We're a highly certified B Corporation as well, and it's just the essence of who I am, and it's easy for me. I can talk about this night and day. It's super easy for me to find partners or selling this brand, this product, because it's exactly who I am. I love it. And same with other products that I have created, and it's mostly for my own need. It's always something that I like. It's always a product that I like, or same with the services that I'm selling or that I do for people, running workshops on scaling businesses, or whether I talk about longevity lifestyle or work-life integration. I'm my own customer always. I come from my own personal need. I create products that I consume on a daily basis. I create workshops from something that I needed in my life that I created for myself, and I can see other people benefit from that. It's always about giving them something that they want. And because I needed it, others might want it, and you just align with those. That's your market.
Yeah, I agree. That's something that I'm leaning into as well. Is just like creating something that I really like, or something that I would use on a daily basis myself, because it becomes easier then. It's like, don't have to force it. I think it also becomes, for me, like, it's kind of like an art. It's like you're going to create something, it's enjoyable. And of course it comes with a lot of stuff that isn't so enjoyable too. You have the admin, etc. In terms of how you apply yourself to your business, what are the things that you really enjoy and lean into? And then what are the things that you pass off or let others look after?
It's really interesting. So since day one, I've always said, like, this is 15 years ago, I've always said, I do anything but sales. I'm not a salesperson. And then I learned over time, when you are in business and you have a business, you will forever be in sales, because you're talking about your brand. People ask about it. You're in sales. That's what you do. And then over time, I really learned how to enjoy it. To do the sales part is like when we just came back from the exhibition, like that's what I did for days, 12 hours every day. And I've come to a point where I really love it because it doesn't feel like sales. I don't need to sell anyone anything. They're interested in the product and I will tell them about it. I tell them all about it, the whole background story, what it stands for, and they either like it or don't. I'm not here to convince anyone for anything that they don't want. Like if you have a need and you're interested, I tell you about it. And if it aligns, that's great. That's just my sales approach. And I think that's the modern sales approach that works well for people because we're just sold to every single day with advertisements on social media, on like every pop-up on every website and on TV. We're just sold to 24/7. So it has to come naturally. Otherwise, people won't buy it.
Has it been easy building it?
Yeah, I mean, of course, it comes with hurdles. Yeah, you have to go through. I mean, industries go through different waves of challenges. You might have challenges. I mean, I've had things, especially in the early days, where we had a supplier who didn't depit a batch and it gone into the production round. So we had like crushed date pits in the products, and that was not cool. We had different things happening over time, and those things are really hard when it compromises the quality of your product. And of course, like then there's challenges if you have a big customer and they don't pay. What if you lose them? It's cash flow is always a big one as well. And I think the longer you are in business, like now we're in a position we can have really good payment terms with our manufacturing partner. That's extremely supportive and helpful for us. But again, you find people you can grow with together and don't take advantage. We've had distributors before that literally used us as cash cow. They would only pay us once they got paid, but we had to finance the products out and everything else. But I think we got to a point where we were financing everyone by 9 months. You can't sustain growth that way because you still have bills. And so that's absolute insanity and it's not sustainable. So you have to find people you work well with, like just proving my point again. It's not always very easy, but I think the second you relax more into it, and of course, also if you do things that you don't like so much, like I actually am very fond of finances. And I used to love bookkeeping, but not anymore. That's also shifted. So now that's something like it's just like drains me in my day. It's not something that I would like to do. So you find people, if you're in a position where you can find someone who does it, you just have to think about where is your return of investment in terms of time as well. So even if you say, I don't have money to pay someone who does my bookkeeping, then we'll really think about this. If your time is worth, let's say $50, $100, $500, and you find someone that can do your bookkeeping for $20, $30, but you actually end up selling and making deals and doing that, then it's already paid off. So you have to think about where to invest your time as well.
Yeah, that's something I actually used to do myself, was the bookkeeping. I used to do the VAT return and look after everything every 2 months, and it used to take me 2 weeks, and that was 2 weeks of my time that was just so consumed, and I could have been using that time in a more productive way to look outside the business and see what was possible, but because I was so stuck in it, and also you think you're saving money, but you're actually not. You're not allowing yourself or the business to grow. These are key lessons. I look back and there's so many lessons, but the sooner we can learn them, the better. But it's like sometimes there's a fear of letting go too. I think we're so used to, well, I was anyway, so used to holding on. It's like, I got to do this, because it's not going to be done right and I need to save money. But yeah, the sooner you can learn to let go, you can allow your company to grow.
You said something interesting. It's the not doing it right part. And I think most business owners have exactly that. Or even parents, or, when you just like overparent a child, and it's like, I just do it for you because it's quicker. And having that patience to train someone the way you like it, or to teach kids, like take that time out, but it takes longer, but you show them how to do it. Kind of like a similar thing to do, but everyone will have their own way, and that is okay. The letting go of certain things, like it doesn't have to be done controllably the way exactly how you want it, and it might not be the best way either. So giving, like, there's instructions about, like, you can do this and you find a way to get it done however you like it. Mind you, when it comes to business, it's got to be efficient. But you have to give that to your staff as well. You have to give them the certain processes, and then they can kind of make that their own, whatever that looks like.
Yeah. Eventually hired a bookkeeper.
Good for you.
But getting to where you are today, have you had any roadblocks with that company? Has anything really challenged you where, business has been on a low, you've had to pivot or anything like that?
Oh, man, where do I start? I've had so many extreme ones as well. So, one of my businesses, we were supposed to partner or be acquired by a huge corporation. I'm not allowed to say the name. That might take me down really hard.
we won't say.
This has been many years, but what I can say is this was in Australia. And they gotten everything from us. We started opening up a factory site just for this product. They've had the recipes, the machines, the processes, like all of this was set up based on what we were, our entire database, our clients. So behind our back, they started producing our product. Mind you, it was really shit. It was a really shitty product, but they didn't tell us, and they got silent for a little while. And I was like, what is going on? They're just building the factory. Okay, it must take some time. Anyhow, long story short, they started approaching our distributors, like try to get us out of the market, fully undercutting us. Also, it was a company that they don't pay taxes. It has to do with old laws and churches and things. Anyhow, so there was no way of ever competing with them. And that was a hard pill to swallow. It was just one of those things where I think we could have pushed hard enough and long enough and we would have recovered. But I think you just get to a point where I couldn't take it anymore. I was exhausted. Business was crazy. This happened. And I was so shocked. I was like, I have no energy for this stuff. And there was a lot, like we tried to go against it. I built a legal team, like people who were really helping me. SBS was onto it, and lots of media channels. And I wasn't allowed to talk about it because we had signed an NDA. And they said they will find you anywhere in the world and they will come for your children. I said, okay, maybe it's a little bit too far. And I have one other story in another business where I had a business partner I took into the business a few years in because that person had skills I really wanted to grow the business a certain way. Eventually, it turned out that that person did not have those skills. It was kind of like pretend, and I don't know how that person got away with like that not coming up earlier. And then I found out later that that person was sued by many companies and other business partners, many of them, simultaneously and earlier because of malpractices. And so long story short, just around when COVID happened, that person moved stock. So the stock was not to be found. Mind you, it's perishable products, so that was tough. Cleared out the bank account, not being a director, so the banks were empty.
No, when you say cleared out the bank account, like did they spend it or did they take it?
Moved it somewhere. I don't know.
Okay.
So my hands were bound. Yeah. And then at the same time, COVID hit, which meant the courts were shutting down. Like no one was moving anywhere. Like no one was anywhere to be seen. And because perishable products, and there was not much I could do. So because of the timing of COVID, that I had to shut the business. So that happened too. And we had $1 million worth of stock in the warehouse.
How did you deal with that? So the money was moved.
The money was moved.
And you had to shut the business.
Yeah, pretty much. So there was a whole legal thing that started happening, and because of courts were shutting down, that didn't go anywhere. And how did I deal with that? So I think the body goes into shock a little bit, but not just because of that. Like right at the same time, I got pregnant. My partner left me. I moved between like Australia, then COVID came. I thought it'd be a better idea to go back to Europe, at least for a few months. I felt a bit safer somehow because Australia was shutting their borders. It was a whole world upside down. And to be honest, I was quite calm, I must say, but I think it was pure coping mechanism, especially because I was single mom pregnant and everything was wild with the business. It was my whole life, my whole existence was floating up in the air. And I think it was just pure survival mode, intuitively. Yeah.
Would you describe yourself as someone who is generally calm?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm a Pisces. I'm quite calm by nature for sure. I'm a very analytical person. Um, I am thinking a lot in my head. I've always been like that, even as a child. I'm very observant. I see situations, I'm in situations, and I tend to shut down, but just because I'm processing and I think about it, and I'm not exactly a rational person. I'm an entrepreneurial rational person. I think I just like to do things, but not in other many ways. I'm quite calculated and I think through things. I don't like to respond emotionally so much. I'd like to think about what I say and how I say it, because I'm a Pisces. I'm extremely empathetic, and so I think about how people might perceive it first. And one thing I've also learned over time is by one of my very first mentors. He always said, "Seek to understand first, then to be understood." We tend to interpret things that happen to us in life based on experiences we've had, but we really have to think it from other people's perspectives too. Like, why is it what they do, and it might not be exactly the same intention as we perceive it. So I tend to ask more questions where it came from, to then be able to process it properly and not based on experiences that I've had. And I mean, nowadays it's also, I've had lots of experiences all around the world. You take different cultures in there as well, because it's not just psychology anymore. And so you have to observe a lot to process that before you tend to react. And I'm a good processor. I I, I tend to process fairly quickly so I can move on, because if you don't, then those things will always come bite you back in the butt and be a
Mhm.
thing your whole life. So I tend to go like, okay, everything has its moment. I'll talk about it, then I'll process it, and then I'm very solution driven. I always look for like, what can I do about it? What did I learn from it, and what can I do next?
I think that's the fastest way through any situation, is being able to think about it as opposed to react and be caught up in it. It never serves it. I mean, I don't think I'm a reactive person. That doesn't mean that I haven't been in the past, but
Mhm.
when you allow yourself the moment just to take time out and think about it and process it and come back, then you can move through it a lot faster and try and understand other perspectives, because sometimes we get caught up so much in our own way, and that's the only way, when there's a million ways. Everyone's perspective is unique, and the sooner we learn that, the sooner we can move forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
In terms of scaling, then, what does scaling look like in your company from where you started to now where you are today? The team, the operations.
Mm. So one thing, well, I guess I teach it too, so it comes quite natural now. Scaling is creating a foundation, like real processes and tools in your business that creates I always see it like bricks and layers that you build with different processes that help you scale. So have that foundation, have the processes in place so you can get more people in the business where they can use those tools, and then you can scale from there because you have a strong foundation. If you don't lay a strong foundation very early on, or at least like if you don't have it, then do it now, no matter where you are. Because I see a lot of businesses that have multiple $1 million dollars in revenue and don't have that, and a lot of them end up crumbling because they can't sustain it, and it's not efficient, it's not effective, it's not productive. So do that first, integrate those tools, don't just think about selling, build the foundation, and then you can scale from that. And now with some of my businesses, it's just a matter of like, how do you actually do it? Like it's finances. So if you have the finances, you think about like strategically, what markets do you go into? How can you finance it? How does it work out with different legislations, like where you deal with food in different countries and pricing points, and how's the operational side and the importing, exporting. So knowledge, information, and then how do you want to showcase yourself, your business? Like how do you want to position yourself, and think about that strategically.
That's something as well that I'm going through at the moment too, is I would say scaling. Again, in my 20s, it's not something I thought about. I mean, I wanted to grow, but I didn't understand how to grow. We grew to millions in revenue. But again, I was so stuck in it. I wouldn't say that there was a foundation. Like we grew to where we grew to because that was where I was at. That's all I was capable of growing to. But I also didn't realize that I needed to grow myself. I needed to develop more awareness, to understand myself better so that I could grow the company further. What's your thoughts on that?
I guess that's everything, really. Understanding yourself better to grow your business, because your business also needs core values. And what I had to learn later was, you think about business's core values, and those are really important. But you have to think, latest when I became a mom, I had to think about what my own personal core values were. And with that comes how you set boundaries as well. And you do the same with your business. And they do have to have a degree of alignment. And for you to be able to set that and make sure you have clarity on that, only then it's sustainable. Because that's why I like doing workshops on work-life integration and longevity lifestyle. And how do you actually sustain that? Because when people say you've got to find the balance, there's no real balance. If you have your own business, even people in key executive roles are just working really crazy hours, there's no real balance. It's like, how do you find, how do you integrate, how do you do everything still? Because the demand is always getting higher and higher, especially with AI coming in. There's so much more we can do, so the expectations are higher, and we're still supposed to be, the best parent, the best daughter, the best husband, the best cousin, the best, we're still supposed to be social. And we've never had, in humanity, we never had to do it all so much in those so many extremes. So for you to really understand who you are, what you want, find some happiness in that. And for me, it's like, you take care of yourself, body, mind, and soul. You go work out, you eat healthy, you make sure that your mindset is right. And like, I'm not someone who wakes up chirpy. I'm generally a very chirpy person. And I like it. I'm very switched on in the morning as well. So I'm up and I'm friendly and fine, but my head is not all positive when I wake up. Like, I've got to kind of sort my thoughts and get the negative stuff that, you're not good enough, like all that. I have to get that out and have to make sure that my mindset is right, so I'm set for the day, because then everything happens with intention.
How do you get rid of them thoughts or overcome them thoughts of I'm not good enough?
I created a process and I wrote a book. So I wrote a book called Empowered Parents Unlocked, and it's more about empowering the parent and not how to be a parent, because everyone knows best. But one of the tools is the journaling technique that I use. And it's, well, part of that is like how you change your thought process from like, how do you change a negative thought to a positive thought? But first you start with a brain dump, like everything that you have in your mind, you write it down. Because most of the time when we brain dump, and it just sounds stupid, like what we think, like it doesn't make sense. It's just stupid. But it's when you have it subconsciously in your mind, it's completely normal for us. And then you get it out and you think like, why would I even say that? And most of the things we think about ourselves, we would never even say that to our worst enemy, or thinking like things don't work out. Like, why would we think that? So the second you write those down and you think about a positive aspect of that, so you shift it, you turn it around, and you find that gratitude is really important, affirmations are really important. We've all heard it before, but there's a process to it, how to do it well and to simplify it, because no one has 30 minutes in the morning to write all of these things down. So you can be very proactive and efficient about it, how to do it, just so you can have your mindset straight and you send it for yourself. But things that do have to come with that too is like you said, you're finding yourself, you understand who you are and what you stand for. So you have your own personal core values, you have them in your business, you make sure you set your boundaries, and then you build your life, your business from there, and align with people who think the same. And even with that, some people come for a reason, for a season, for a lifetime, and applies to personal and to business life. And that's fine. That's all part of it. That's all natural as well.
Definitely. I think that's normal. We all get them thoughts, aren't we? Or don't we? We're not good enough, I still get them. It's just like, even doing this podcast, it's just like, oh, Ryan, you're not good enough, but I'm like, you know what? If I can show up for myself and I can have this conversation, I am good enough, and it's not about what other people think. I've even heard other people who have enjoyed it have said, other people said to them, who does he think he is? Things like that there. And I'm just like, why would anyone have anything negative to say? Why does people care about what other people think? I know that's a little bit further than not good enough, but sometimes them little things, you know what? they just drive me on more. I'm just like, you know what? That's just more motivation for me. And then gratitude too. Just the simple things like going to bed at night and just appreciating just having a bed, just appreciating a home, my kid, my family, my friends, and food, just the simple things. Like gratitude, like for me, it's just the key to happiness.
It's really something that recenters you. Like you can go to bed at night and just think like, oh, all the things you haven't done, that your kid might be annoying you, or I'm so exhausted. And I have those too, where I just think like, can you just be quiet and just let me do my thing? Mine is running around here as we speak. Last night, 40-degree fever, hallucination, vomiting. And now, of course, he's home because he has to stay home, but he's totally fine. He's like, the life itself. And I just think, oh my gosh, it's so annoying. But where I just have to remind myself, like, we're so lucky. I have so many things to be grateful for. He's the best person on the planet. I'm the luckiest mom ever. And like so many things and moments you just have to focus on and just be grateful for the little things. And also remember, like, what do we actually do this for? As fun as some of that is, and I think it's, if I had like $100 million, I'd still do a lot of this because I truly really enjoy it. I get a lot of energy out of it. I love the people I'm surrounded with. I love innovating. I love creating. I couldn't imagine a day where I'm not innovative. And when you said like, I'm not good enough, what am I doing here? It really depends how you see it, because in the end, I've done a lot. And I've had a million failures, but in the end, like all these failures have really pushed me levels up to where most people are never going to be. Because I mean, you can have successes, but you don't learn from most of them. Like all of the things that I've gone through have shaped me to the person I am today, and I'm really grateful for that. Like everything that has happened, as traumatic as a lot of these were, I wouldn't change anything for a thing, like not for a cent anymore these days, because I like the person I am. I like who I've become. I like how I see the world and the things that I get to do. And I'm really, really grateful for that. And I can always do it again,
Mm-hmm.
and some people have done other things and I've done my things, and you can't compare. Like, when people say, like, who are you? And like, we've all lived a life and done things, and you can't compare it. You can't compare yourself to someone else, because you also you will never know the full story. And I think when people, actually those ones who come down on you, like, who do you think you are, they're the ones who try to hide something, because
Mm-hmm.
they want to be better than you. And maybe that's the one thing that makes them feel better, because they don't feel that themselves internally.
Yeah, I always feel that it's a judgment coming from within them upon themselves. Yeah. Something else that you said there too is like you enjoy being innovative and creative. And me too. I went through a period where I didn't want to work anymore. I didn't want to be creative. I got to a place where I was happy with what I had, and then I had this dilemma in my head where I was just like, oh, making money, through business is a bad thing, but I had to do full circle on that and come, because I had this battle of, is, making money, is that a spiritual experience or is it not, and it was kind of coming into spirituality too. But I came around and it's just like, then I realized everything is spiritual, you know and we are entitled to whatever we want to go and create to achieve abundance, and today money is what gives us the opportunity to do the things that we want to do, to buy the things we want to buy, just to create experiences. But there was a period where I battled with that, and I'm sharing that, not something that was thinking on sharing, but just because you talked about being creative and being in that innovative space. And yeah, I was just curious to your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I can very much relate to that. Definitely, I've always had a very good money understanding, but I've never been someone who was comfortable making it. And I think is also, again, what you've experienced in the past. So you might have experiences growing up where people fight over money, and money is seen as something negative, or you have negative experiences with that. And I definitely have, growing up. So you making money and having positive feelings around that doesn't come natural to everyone. And I think when you see it as money definitely is energy,
Hmm.
and you putting something positive and then it brings something positive back, and money is effectively a tool that enables us to then do with that what we choose, and we can have experiences with that, we can enjoy life, we can do something nice for other people, we help the economy, because in the end it's not, you're not hoarding the money. It's like you just keep it shifting, you keep it moving, you keep it flowing around the economy, and that's what we need to do. The money is not supposed to sit still, you're supposed to move it. So that's a positive thing that helps the economy, that helps everyone, and it helps your neighbor, the neighbor's shop, the all of the business owner. It helps other people have an income, to have a salary and have their own experiences. It feeds people. So if you see it from that perspective, it's very positive. And I think that mindset shift is really crucial for anyone who's had challenges connecting with money or making money in a positive way. Because you can we in the chocolate business, we work with fair trade companies, and there's a lot of money we've given back to fair trade, and you can do a lot of good with that. I've partnered with B1G1, buy one, give one, where you can give a certain percentage of your profits to certain projects that you choose, like whatever it is. Even when you think about, I had a friend, he said, I feel bad hiring people from the Ukraine. And we were like, are you serious? These people are suffering. They'd be so grateful for any job opportunity coming from a war zone, and it feeds their family. And he goes, I never thought about it that way. I thought I was taking advantage. We're like, no, you were doing something really good. And yeah, it's healthy sometimes to get a different perspective, for sure.
Yeah, and I think it comes back to whatever it is you are getting involved in, you got to love what you do.
Hmm.
Then it comes easy. But something you talked about too is like giving back. That's something that's now come into me, is just like whatever I do going forward, which is in my plans, is to give back, is to have the business has a higher purpose, that something that is greater than the business that can then I suppose can never be fulfilled, and whether that's by giving back to different types of charities, communities that align with the business, what it does, I think is what will give the people who are working in it something to drive towards as well.
Yeah, and it could be anything. You could work with a local school, or like put on an event once a year, or get interns in to educate them or help them learn certain skills, or you can find a million different ways to do that in whatever is aligned with yourself and kind of what you feel connected with.
What are the things that you are aligned with?
That I'm aligned with.
Yeah, in the sense of with companies that you give back to.
Mm, I've done all sorts of different things. So I've worked on fair trade is a big thing for us. The chocolate business Benetto does a lot with birds, and every year there's like a bird of the year in New Zealand, and there's a whole bar that's just for them that's being sold, and with a packaging with a bird of the year, and all of the profits go towards that foundation. For example, there's because we're fair trade, we work with two co-ops exclusively. We buy the beans from, so we have that. For example, there's I've worked with B1G1 before, where you select projects you like to work with. Like for example, I've given profit shares to moms in third world countries to provide them like hospitality sort of environments to give birth to, or I like to empower people that buy their own tools so they can make their own money and not just give money, so they can plant trees, they get tools to create things, or around educating kids. Like it really depends which project it might be. Like with my education business, I like to then help educate people in other countries that might not have access to it. I just came back from Nairobi, from Kenya, and the amount of, they call them street kids, they're just lost in the system. They've never been to school. All they do every day is just walk up to people and ask for money, and that's kind of, they look like normal. They're in clothes. It's a warm country. They walk around amongst everyone else, and they don't look like a lot of like homeless people that you see in developed countries. And it's just part of it. I heard in South Africa, like 50% of the population doesn't have work. It's really crazy when you think we live in a world where we have internet, we have Wi-Fi, and I was like, can't you just, like, the country could set up like a hall in every city where kids just walk in and you live stream education, and it doesn't cost anything. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, it blows my mind, and a lot of the governments and politics are so corrupt there that the money doesn't go into their system. I was like, it would benefit them, because you boost the economy. Like, it should be in their benefit, and they don't really quite operate that way. So it's yeah, we the world has a long way to go with all of that.
The world is what, sorry?
Has a long way to go.
Yeah, it does. I do wonder though, sometimes I'm like, is the world improving, or is the gap just getting bigger? Do you know, there's like people that's basically the spectrum just getting wider and wider, where more and more poverty is being created with more and more wealth, as opposed to getting shorter.
I think it's shifting. The way we see it now, we've always kind of had it. I think though we have more millionaires and billionaires that we've had before, with being able to have access to other things. Before, let's say 100 and 200 years ago, was more like you had to have to know people. You had to be part of a certain circle, like the Rockefellers, and be in like booming industries. Like, it's always kind of been like that. And now with the internet, we have these 20-year-olds that are influencers and make millions and millions of dollars, have their own brands, like multi-millions. We've never had that before. And anyone from anywhere in the world can do that. There is these kids in Kenya that do the dances on YouTube, and they live in absolute poverty, and they're absolute rock stars online. So they can make money that way now. and they would have never had that opportunity. So it's definitely shifting. The whole world is shifting, and I think what's challenging is the industries can't quite keep up with the shift, because the younger generation know they don't have to work hard anymore. But it also means that we have a lack of tradespeople, we have a lack of medical professionals. And even in countries like where I'm right now in Germany, we barely get into doctors anymore. We have to wait 6-9 months, more than a lot of other countries do now. It's absolutely insane. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
wow.
everything is shifting. We're not quite the way we were even 5 years ago. I think with the start of COVID, everything has gone absolutely mentally upside down.
Yeah, I do agree that the opportunity for everyone is, well, I'm not going to say everyone, but a high percentage of the population now to be their own person, whatever that is. And with AI coming along too, it's just going to ramp things up. So the next 5 to 50 years will be interesting if I'm alive. Well, we'll see.
I think you'll be fine.
You never know, but I would like to think so. If I live to what, 80 plus, yeah, that would be a good age. It would be a good age. Been a great chat, Janine.
Thank you. Yes, it was a lovely chat. It's super interesting. Thank you for sharing your perspective too.
Thank you. Thank you.